I'm Kevin America. Welcome to our class. Today we're going to do more idioms. Now hopefully you have seen my last idiom lesson where we talked about what an idiom means, what is an idiom, and some of the common ones. Now we're just going to go through some common American idioms so you can speak a little more like a native English speaker, okay? Before we do, let's just review real quickly. What is an idiom? An idiom is a phrase that means something different than it says, right? So I say that it's raining cats and dogs. There are cats and dogs falling from the sky. However, what I mean is it's raining very hard, okay? So let's get to it. What's our first new idiom? All right. So this one is very interesting. It says, actions speak louder than words. That's interesting, right? Actions speak louder than words. So I bet even if you didn't read any of this, you probably know what this means. It's obvious. Actions speak louder than words. It just means that what a person does tells us more about them than what they say. They can say something all they want, but we watch what someone does and we learn more about them. Let's look at an example sentence, okay? Here we've got, he says that he hates to drive, but he always does. Actions speak louder than words. That tells me he says that he hates to drive, but I bet he likes to drive secretly, or maybe even just a little bit. Good. So here's another one. This is to bite off more than you can chew. So what is to bite? And what is to chew? So imagine taking a bite of pizza that's so big your whole mouth is full and now you can't chew. You can't chew the bite. So what happens when you bite off more than you can chew? So let's talk about applying this idea to the rest of your life. When you bite off more than you can chew, it means you accept a responsibility that is too big. Let's look at an example sentence. Since Alan started working nights and going to school during the day, he is always tired. I hope he didn't bite off more than he can chew. You see? It just means I hope he didn't accept more responsibility than he can handle. It doesn't seem that he is sleeping well. He is always tired. Good. Okay. This idiom is a little different. This idiom is the whole 9 yards. You may have heard this. It's actually quite common. And it really just means all of it. The whole 9 yards, the whole thing, whatever it is. So let's look at an example sentence. I prepared the whole picnic myself. The food, the wine, the dessert, the whole 9 yards. It's a way of saying all of it, even the little stuff. That was me. I did it. Or we have everything we need to go camping. We have the tent, we have some cooking materials, the whole 9 yards. It's just a way of saying all of it. Good. How about a grain of salt? So this idiom is actually very common too. To take something with a grain of salt. I'm talking about something or someone, right, with a grain of salt. And it just means to not take them or it or something too seriously, right? Don't take it so seriously. He's just talking. So let's look at an example here. I can't believe all the stories that Tom tells. I take them with a grain of salt. You see? And in fact, you could change this example to say, instead of taking them, the stories, I can't believe the stories, I take each story with a grain of salt, which means, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, whatever. You can also take Tom with a grain of salt. You know what? That's Tom. He's interesting. You have to take him with a grain of salt. Which means maybe you can't believe everything he says. All right. Here's how to make a long story short. So to make a long story short is just about what it seems like. It means there's a lot to this story, but we only have a certain amount of time. Maybe I'm afraid I will bore you. You won't want to sit around for the whole story. Or perhaps we don't have that much time, but there's a lot to the story, but I'll just tell you the important parts so you can understand. That's all. Make a long story short. It just means to leave out the details from a story, right? So, to make a long story short, and that's actually two words, to make not a long, but to make a long story short, I forgot my passport and had to go all the way back home again. Now, I could have told you this huge story, there's a lot to it. So when you use this idiom to make a long story short, blah, 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 you give a synopsis, a brief encounter of the story. When you use this idiom, it basically means there is a lot more to the story. There are details, but I'm not going to tell you those. And usually it's a favor. It's because you don't want it. You see? Okay, let's cross some bridges. So this one is interesting. We're going to cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay? To cross a bridge when you come to it just means you predict a potential problem in the future. But you don't want to talk about that now. We're not trying to solve that problem now. Okay? And in fact, we'll deal with a problem later when it happens. Instead of dealing with it, even if you know it will happen, that's okay. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. So let's look. My new schedule gives me less time for homework, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. You see? So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have some problems getting my homework finished because of enough time. However, I don't want to deal with that now. I'm not going to try to solve that problem now. I'll wait until later when it happens. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. All right. Here, we're trying not to count chickens. Interesting, right? So this idiom's cool. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. This is a good one, and it's good advice. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. It means don't make plans for something that might not happen. Maybe it will happen, whatever it is you're planning on, but maybe it won't. So don't count your chickens before they hatch. They might not hatch. Let's look at this. If you have a higher salary next year, you could get a new car. But don't count your chickens before they hatch. Maybe next year you will have a higher salary and you could get a new car. However, I wouldn't plan on it just yet. You don't have that higher salary yet. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Okay, this one also is eggs and chickens. I thought it would be a pretty nice segue. So, the other one was don't count your chickens before they hatch. And this one is about putting all your eggs in one basket. Also, don't do it. Okay? And what does it mean when we say don't put all your eggs in one basket? It means that we don't want to put all of our resources into one possibility. You know, something that might happen, we're going to put all of our eggs into that basket. I hope that basket is okay, because if it's not, I have no eggs. So you'll see it's actually quite similar to counting your chickens before they hatch. We're talking about something in the future, and we hope it turns out okay. Well, here is a good example. Check it out. I applied to several universities because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, right? If I just applied to my favorite university and I know I want to go there and I fill out the application, here you go. What if they say no? Then I didn't apply at any universities and I have to wait another year or semester before I can go to university. But if I applied to many, that means I spread my eggs out. I didn't put them all in one basket. Cool, right? All right. Okay, so let's do one more, okay? And this one is a little interesting. This is under the weather. So if I didn't tell you what that means, what does it mean, under the weather? You would really have trouble figuring it out. You kind of have to know this one. So to be under the weather means to be a little sick or a little ill, but not a lot. I'll come to that in a moment. So when you're under the weather, you're a little sick. Oh, not great. It's okay, I'm not dying or anything. I'm just under the weather. Susan didn't go to work today because she was under the weather. Okay, easy, right? But here is the warning. You have to make sure you don't use under the weather when someone is very sick. Okay, if someone has cancer or hepatitis, if someone has a serious medical condition and they're very sick, and you say that they are under the weather, it's very offensive. People can be insulted when you say that, okay? So, under the weather really just means a little sick. A good reason not to go to work if you're under the weather, right? Good. All right, so I'm Kevin America, and thank you for having a wonderful class with me.